Hello everyone, hi, how are you guys doing today? Welcome back to another reaction episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is Truth, my name is Matt, hello, what's up? Hi, Buffy time. Last time on Buffy, what happened? The Watcher Council is back. I'm not sure if they're gonna stay here or if they're just gonna leave immediately, but there has been a connection that has been reestablished between our main cast and the Watcher Council. It seems that Giles has been reinstated as officially Buffy's Watcher and he's been hired, so he's gonna get some cash in. Good for my man, love to see it. Buffy had a nat 20. What check would that be? Was it persuasion or was it like intimidation? But it was a check of charisma of some sorts, and she just hit a nat 20 and then she convinced the Watcher Council to just help. And and to be fair, everything she said was okay. Like, it was pretty, like, she was right. So it makes sense for them to like be like somewhat rational. Okay, she's right. Like they because they are so stuck up in their own ways, but like when push comes to shove, it seems like she was able to just like narrow down specifically what they need to do. And they were like, all right, you're right. Like, they just conceded. But I didn't expect them to do so. Like, that's how little faith I had in them. But that did happen, so that was nice. Glory threatened to murder Buffy's entire family, so the situation is dire. I do want to bring up, though, because, like, last episode, I had this, like, I don't know how long it was. It was, like, half an hour of me going on this, like, huge... I wouldn't know if I would want to call it character analysis. There were hints of it. But it was also just like me talking about Buffy and how I feel about her and the things that I see that could potentially be issues down the line, like red flags. Or not red flags, yellow flags, right? Like, not quite red yet, but yellow. And like, I got some replies on Patreon. And usually whenever I say some bullshit like that, which is every episode, honestly, I get like 3 types of responses, which are like either very coy, like, I'm not going to provide any further information, which feels almost like a confirmation sometimes, but it's also just like, well, I don't know. The second one, it's like, yes, you realize something. Hell yeah. And the third one is, well, I didn't really see it that way. I got a lot of the third one last episode. I got a lot of those latter comments, which is just a very nice way of saying, I think you're crazy. Because, like, when it comes down to it, people who reply to these videos, people who comment on that, are people that have already seen the show. So from their perspective, it's just me yapping for like 40 minutes about something that is just factually wrong. And that's honestly kind of funny, but at the same time, I do feel a little bad about it. So yeah, I am gonna calm myself down, and whatever the bullshit I was saying last episode, I'm not gonna like commit to it, because I didn't commit to it before. And that's kind of the thing about these episodes, is that I just say shit. I don't fully believe in what I'm saying. I get passionate about an idea that I might have in the moment, but like, as soon as the camera is off, I don't actually really commit to any of my theories or ideas or whatever. It's just like the process of coming up with it that I'm mostly excited about, that I'm passionate about, but then I don't actually care too much about the result. I just make up some bullshit in my mind, and that's fun for me. So yeah, I don't think Buffy is probably going to become so overconfident that everyone's gonna die around her because she was too self-centered. I don't think that's gonna happen because of that response I got. It would kind of be fun to see it. Like, when I said it, I was kind of like, do I want to see that? I was thinking about it, and I think like maybe it would be kind of fun, but they're not gonna do that. What she's saying is just, I am not weak against Glory either. I have something, and something is better than nothing, which is kind of where she was at. She's like, I am nothing, and then she's like, hold on, I got something. And like, I knew that. Like, I knew that that's something that, because for this one interaction she's having, it makes complete sense for her to say that. What I was worried about is like, down the line, next episode, her overconfidence kills everyone. Like, that's what I was worried about. So it was something that I had to say then, before we move into next episode. Because for me, it's fun. For me, it's fun to like make up some bullshit as I'm watching through each episode individually. So before I move into this episode and I get either confirmed or denied how Buffy is acting to be like super overconfident or not, I was just like, it's fun to imagine a world where that could be the case. It would be very tragic, and I would have some words for Buffy, but it is an idea that I think is kind of cool. But at the same time, if we go into this episode and there's nothing of that, then whatever. Like, it's not even a topic of conversation. It's just something that didn't happen. But I just feel like that's where my brain goes to, because like I am always worried about the next thing, right? I am always just thinking about what's gonna happen next as a result of X, and I'm immediately like guarding myself against it. In the same way that like I guess my analysis kind of work, like in that same vein, the way my brain works is like, if X, then Y, then C, then that means that we're all gonna die. So, okay, I need to really get myself ready for that. And it's just like 4 layers of like maybe hypotheticals, but that's always where I'm thinking, because I'm fucking crazy like that. But like at the same time, I'm aware of that, so don't worry about it. Whenever I say shit, I know I'm crazy. Maybe we can move into this episode now. I am excited because I feel like, okay, now that Glory has broke into Buffy's house and threatened her family. And the thing is that she threatened her family and said, the next time someone is gonna die. And in my list, Joyce is at the top because of everything that we already had with Joyce and her brain tumor. It is a threat, so it's not like anyone in her family has died already, but I'm already kind of feeling like that has happened. Because if Glory wanted to, there's nothing that would stop her. Buffy can stop her, Spike can stop her, anyone can stop her. So if she just knows where they are, which honestly, why wouldn't she? All you would have to do is just like tail Buffy or tail any of her friends to see where Spike is, or you tail Buffy until Spike meets her, because he's gonna do that. And whenever that happens, then you follow him back and then you just find the layer. Alternatively, through some whatever bullshit means regarding supernatural like magic or items or demons or whatever, you can find it somehow. I can see how like I can just boot up an episode and Glory found them. Just like within the episode, that just happens. It's not something we build to, it's something that can just happen, just out of nowhere. I officially enter like worry status because, again, because the tone that was set from like that entire like arc with Joyce having a brain tumor and getting her surgery and stuff, like all of that felt like she was fucking dead. And then she didn't die, and my response to that was, I do not believe you that she didn't die. She has to die this season. That's how I feel. But even if she doesn't die and someone else dies, I feel like that would still make sense, because it feels like we have set a tone for the season of like tragedy can strike. We have set that tone. I never feel like that pit in my stomach any harder than during those episodes where I was just like worried that Joyce was just gonna die. Like, I felt bad. And I feel like this show wanted to set that tone, because if they didn't kill her then they're gonna kill her or someone else later. And whenever that happens, it's not gonna feel like completely out of left field. It's not gonna feel like disjointed with the rest of the season, because like if you had an episode that is just like fun and memes or whatever, and then it just goes into Joyce is dead, that would feel odd. But if most of the season has been serious episodes, because that's how I feel, honestly. Like, we've had some silly episodes, but I feel like the majority of season 5 has been just like, okay, serious shit, then I feel like this is the season where if they want to do something big like that, it can happen. All right, long intro. I need to watch this fucking episode. All right, Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description below. Pop up on the screen. You can support the channel and watch the next 2 episode reactions already, as well as Angel watch-alongs. Everything in normal and full-length versions. All right, let us begin. So, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, season 5, episode 13. Let's go.
20th birthday party with presents and funny hats and those candles that don't blow out.
Peak tragedy is someone dying at your birthday. Buffy historically doesn't have good birthdays.
Glory and 2 of her fellow hell gods ruled over one of the more seriously unpleasant demon dimensions.
Okay. So Glory, the doctor, I forgot his name, and Rasputin. That was one of my theories.
Being in human form must be severely limiting her powers.
Okay.
All we have to worry about right now is that she's immortal, invulnerable, and insane. Living in this world is seriously affecting her mental state as well. She's only being able to keep her mind intact by extracting energy from us, well, from the human brain.
She's a brain sucker.
Yes.
Which is, I'm afraid, why there's been a marked increase in the ranks of the mentally unstable here in Sunnydale.
It would be very tragic if that happened to one of our main cast characters.
I know way more about demon dimensions than Giles does. Well, I do.
Personal experience?
Plenty stuff, but what about this key thingy Glory's looking for?
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't we be trying to find it before she goes?
I don't think that's what we should be worrying about right now.
You should tell them.
So where should we start looking? Do we know what used to be
We
kept?
should tell them.
Saw it last?
We should tell them.
We did. Giles and me.
You what?
You know, and you didn't tell us? Look, if Glory knew that you guys knew where it was, I just didn't want to put you in that kind of danger.
As opposed to the other kind we're always in?
You should have said something. You're right. It's time. They're gonna be risking their lives. They deserve to know.
Know what?
How they're gonna
There's
take it.
something that you need to know about Dawn.
The key is the link. The link must be severed. Such is the will of God.
You really think he is going to help you?
There's more than one of these minions, okay. We just have full-on, like, cult battles. There's a reason why they came here.
Shall we test your faith now?
Yep.
Never send a minion to do a god's work.
Why did you guys come here?
Hey, nice sword. But it hurts.
You're not gonna kill him with it. You're gonna suck his brain. Yo, okay, I need to ask you guys something because I heard something and I thought it was like, holy shit, what? And I only heard it in like one Tumblr post that like Lady Emily, a YouTuber I follow, reblog. Is there like rumors about like a Buffy reboot or something happening? I haven't looked anything up and I haven't heard anything outside of that one spot. So if there are any rumors about that, can you guys tell me? That would be kind of fun. Because like I imagine like finishing Buffy and immediately starting Buffy again. Buffy 2. Everyone's gonna act weird around Dallas.
This should give us a heads up so we can hide the key.
We already put one up around your house.
Cool, can I help?
Well, I don't think Buffy would like the blackguards bumping oars with the littlest Summers.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, what this does,
She's real. She's just kind of new.
that's true. I like that bit. Good job, Willow.
We on the case?
Yeah.
They should
Right on
said
top,
this
fresh,
is gonna
ready, fresh.
alienate Dawn. She's gonna feel weird.
Fancy Dawn doing.
Fine. What's up with you?
Did you get into the sugar again?
You make a very pretty little girl.
Oh my.
Anya, you wanna help me with that thing?
Xander needs help with his thing.
I mean, they're hiding something from her clearly. Okay, this is something I said many episodes ago. I was like, they're absolutely gonna give it away. Like, Xander and Anya specifically are absolutely gonna give it away.
I'm sure Dawn feels that way about her schoolwork sometimes.
Big square building filled with boredom and despair.
Just how I remember it. So, what's the homework sitch?
We have to imagine what we'll be like 10 years from now and write a letter to our future self. The teacher's clearly so out of ideas. Is it about that weird girl that came to the house? Like you tell me anyway. Dawn's too young and Dawn's too delicate.
A young, delicate pain in my butt.
Just between me and you.
Torturing them.
Where is the key?
Even if I knew, I'd die 1,000 deaths before I tell you.
If she sucks his brain, does she absorb the knowledge? I guess she wouldn't be questioning him if that was the case, but that would be freaky. I would kind of like that. Is this the same guy that Buffy forgave?
May not have the info I want.
You are
Birthday
very,
party.
very
I feel.
Now, gimme.
I feel worried.
I want the presents.
It's beautiful. Thank you, guys.
It's just so lovely. Oh, I wish it was mine.
Stop. Oh my god.
Here, open mine.
To like.
It's when we visited Dad that summer in San Diego.
Oh.
I put the shells on it myself. We picked them off the beach.
I remember.
This is so weird. That's so. Everyone in this room knows except for her. I love this dynamic. I really do. It's so weird.
It still seems to me like there's a lot you don't know about this. I mean, is she dangerous?
Why are you talking about this in the house?
I assume you're talking about her existence rather than her intentions.
Exactly.
We need plates. It's cake time.
Like, this only alienates her. And if we alienate her, she doesn't trust us. And if she doesn't trust us, she's more prone to just go off on her own.
Why does everybody start acting all weird when I'm around?
She's not stupid. She knows.
Me not weird?
I mean, you know us sometimes.
Should we tell her? I wouldn't know what to do. Not in this situation. I would probably tell her sooner.
Right, of course. Can't let Dawn hear anything. I'm just gonna go to bed. That way I won't accidentally get exposed to, like, words.
We have to tell her. And it's such a weird thing to tell someone, but we have to. But like, how do you do it? Of course, this is gonna happen, right? Oh, it's Spike. Hi.
Are you giving Buffy a birthday present? Chocolates. Lame, and the box is all bent, and, well, you know.
It's the same chocolate box that he was using last episode. At least buy a new one, man.
Breaking into the magic shop.
Is he gonna tag along?
Beasties between here and there. But they'd really go for a little Red Riding Hood like you. That wouldn't set too well with Big Sister.
You want to come steal some stuff?
Yeah, all right.
Fuck giving Buffy chocolate. We're breaking into a magic shop. We're stealing some shit.
That's right. Who's bad now?
He's so insecure about being a bad boy.
I don't want the book. Just what's inside.
Oh.
I think it was Giles's notes.
Oh, she's gonna find out this way.
And when I turned around, it was gone.
She realized that he was hiding something from her.
The key is not directly described in any known literature, but all research indicates an energy matrix vibrating at a dimensional frequency beyond normal human perception. Only those outside reality can see the key's true nature.
Outside reality.
What's that mean?
Having their brains suck.
Second sight blokes, mostly. Or even just your run-of-the-mill lunatics.
You don't belong here.
There's no one in there.
I know what you are.
She's just putting it together, which is honestly more impressive than just reading it.
The key is also susceptible to necromanced animal detection, particularly those of canine or serpent construct.
The monks possess the ability to transform energy. Good lord, Giles writes as dull as he talks, doesn't he? They started work, but the council suggested to us that they were interrupted, presumably by glory. They obviously did manage to accomplish the task. They had to be certain the Slayer would protect it with her life, so they sent the key to her in human form.
Here we go. We got it.
In the form of a sister.
Yeah, Spike gonna look at her like, huh.
I guess that's you, Nibbler.
Alright. I have to say, I'm actually really glad that Dawn had this much agency over finding out what she is.
Yeah, some of my best. Oh my god.
Is this blood?
Baby. What did you do?
This is blood, isn't it? It can't be me. I'm not a key. I'm not a thing.
Oh, sweetie, no. What is this all about?
What am I? Am I real? Am I anything?
Okay, now we gotta talk.
We thought it would be better if we waited until you were older.
How old am I now?
You're 14, sweetheart. You know that.
She's going through a crisis.
Lamont. When did...
6 months ago.
I've only been alive for 6 months, huh?
You've been alive a lot longer than that to us.
You don't know that. You don't know anything. I'm just a key, right? Everything about me is made up.
Mom and I know what we feel. I know I care about you. I know that I worry about you.
You worry about me because you have to. I'm your job. Protect the key, right?
I worry because my sister is cutting herself.
How do you know? Maybe it's just another fake memory from my fake family. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out!
Good acting. Very good scream.
We need to find out everything we can about the key. She deserves to know where she came from. She needs to know. Or it's just gonna eat away at her.
How did she get in here in the...
Ew! Who's been using the urn of Ishtar as an ashtray?
Hey, careful. These are wet.
But his
How did you let her
fingernails.
find out like that? From books and papers?
To be fair, he didn't know
You think that
either.
much?
Not like I knew she was mystical, glowy key thing. Nobody keeps me in the bloody loop, do they?
Fair.
Something goes wrong in your life, blame Spike.
If Kid Sis wants to grab a midnight stroll, she'll find a way sooner or later. I just thought she'd be safer with Big Bad looking over her shoulder.
She shouldn't have found out like that.
You didn't think you could keep the truth from her forever, did you? Maybe if you had been more honest with her in the first place, you wouldn't be trying to make yourself feel better with a round of kick to Spike.
Like... And then he immediately regrets the fact that he said that.
You're gonna be late for school.
I'm really enjoying this Dawn episode.
Blobs of energy don't need an education. I'm not anything.
Honey, calm down, okay? This really...
Don't tell me what to do. You're not my mother. I changed my mind. I would rather be at school.
You won't stay. Birds have been pecking too long.
Byzantium.
Yes, they've arrived. Unfortunate, but not completely unexpected.
How many?
The numbers are few for the moment, but they'll grow. No matter how many we kill, they'll keep coming. Wave after wave. It's time to set old animosities aside. Your fate is directly linked to her magnificently scented glorificus. She's been extremely forgiving of your considerable foibles up until now, but if you persist in your defiance, she'll be forced to...
To what? What is she going to do? Glory can't lay a finger on me. You know it, I know it, she knows it.
Are you all fated to do a thing? He's untouchable, because otherwise that would mean that she continues to be untouchable, something like that. So I'm guessing he's one of the other two demon lords, and the third one is Rasputin, which sounds crazy, but that's what I got.
We can't just let her sit up there all alone.
She needs time. We can't force her to be all right with this.
That's your answer? Just leave her alone and hope everything works itself out?
I wouldn't want my mother and my sister coming at me from all sides.
School called today. She was suspended.
Never used language like that. She probably feels like she can say or do anything right now. She's not real. We're not her family. We don't even know what she is.
Oh my god. Of course, she only hears the bad part. And I also love that this is such a, like, older sibling, younger sibling kind of thing. Buffy is interpreting something about how she might feel.
If she's a thing.
I'm not.
Yeah, of course she didn't say that.
Saying that's probably how she
Yes.
feels.
Then we have to show
Clearly.
her that it isn't true. She needs to know that she's still a part of this family and that we love her.
It's not that simple. We're not going to be able to fix this with a hug and a kiss and a bowl of soup. She needs real answers.
What she needs is her sister, Buffy, not the Slayer.
Mom, I need to be out there doing my job. Oh my god, Glory, it's Willow's spell.
Wait, it's not Glory.
Damn. Dawn!
Buffy?
No, she could have burned the house down.
Buffy, she's gone.
Yeah.
She tore up her room. She burned all of her diaries.
The Dawnmeister Chronicles?
She's been keeping those since...
6 months ago.
We have to find her. Fast. Before Glory or the Knights of Hack and Slash figure out who she really is. Just find her. Please.
But you can't push me all the way around. Oh, yes, I can. No, you can't.
You were right. This is my fault. I should have told her.
She probably would have skipped off anyway, even if she never found out. Not just a blob of energy, she's also a 14-year-old hormone bomb. You'll find her, just in the nick of time. That's what you hero types do. You'll find her.
Went to the hospital. Oh, she wants to see how people in the crazy world see her, which is as something that doesn't exist. Right now, she's wallowing in that field, so...
It's here. It's here. It's here. It's here.
Make it stop.
It's here.
The skin's too tight.
Can't hear it. What is the frequency?
But the doctor will find this out if he hears this, that it's her.
You see me, right? Look at me.
What is the knight gonna say?
Can't hear it, can't hear it, can't hear it, can't hear it, can't hear it.
Tell
Can't
me,
hear it, can't-
what am I?
The key.
Yeah.
You know what the key is? Where did I come from? Who made me? What am I?
Destroyer. Cracked to the bones. The sun bleeding into the sky. The key is the link. The link
No.
must be severed. Such is the will of God. Such is the will of God. Such is the will of God.
Yeah.
Can't hear it, can't hear it. Such is the will of God.
Oh boy.
Is there anybody I can call? Your sister?
I don't have a sister.
You two have a fight? It's okay, I know how that goes. I got a sister too. It can be a
Okay.
real pain sometimes, huh? I tell you, there have been a lot of nights I wish she didn't exist either.
It's not Buffy. It's me. I'm the one that doesn't exist.
Look,
Oh boy.
I know it can feel that way sometimes, but when you're older...
No, you don't understand. It's not real. None of this. They made it.
Dawn.
I'm nothing. I'm just a thing the monks made so Glory couldn't find me. I'm not real.
You're the key.
How do you know about the key?
Go. Before she finds you, don't ask me how she knows, because she always knows. Just go.
Wait, calm
You
down.
don't
Just tell
understand. You're a kid. You stay, she'll find you. She finds you, she'll hurt you. You're what she's been searching for. I am telling you, run. You don't know. You... Oh, God, no. She's coming. I can feel it. You've got to get out. Oh, no. She's here! She's here!
Okay. Oh, that's fucking crazy. I wasn't expecting that, but I love how afraid he was.
It's an incy more complicated
like
than
that.
Family always is, isn't it? You'd never make it. I'd rip out your spine before you got half a step.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to noodle is what in the world was the Slayer's little sis doing here with John O'Ben?
I love that she doesn't know. She took his spot, but she doesn't know what they were talking about.
Excuse me, ma'am. This area is for hospital personnel.
Murders him. Yep. At least eat his brain first.
Anything could have happened to her. Not just Glory.
That's
Better
true.
check the hospital.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know where she squirreled it away? There's ice cream and puppy dogs in it for you if you start singing. It was a bright green, swirly shimmer. But then those sneaky little monks pulled an abracadabra, so now it could look like anything. You see the predicament I'm in.
Maybe if you told me more about it,
She wants to know.
I'd know if I've seen it.
She wants to know more about it, about me.
Okay. Well, not as long as me, but yeah, just the sight of forever.
Is it evil?
Totally. Well, no, not really. I guess it depends on your point of view.
What's it for?
It's a key. What does it
If
open?
it's a key, there's gotta be a lock, right?
Yes, we have a winner.
Chloe's really entertaining this, which
I
is...
smell a fox in my hen house. Is that what you've been playing Sugar and Spice with Uncle Ben? Trying to get a peek at Glory's unmentionables?
No, I
kind of want to hear me talking right now. You know what I'm starting to think? I'm thinking that maybe you don't have any idea where my key is. Very irritating, irrational. You know what I mean, tiny snapdragon? Like bugs under my skin.
Oh, she's gonna try to eat her brain.
Hey.
She needs food.
This doesn't have to be a complete waste of my precious time.
That's why I say she had to eat that guy instead of breaking his neck. At least eat his brain first so she wouldn't be hungry.
Get away from my sister.
Hey, we were just talking about you.
Conversation's over, hell bitch.
This doesn't do anything. Hi, Spike. Oh, Gordon Freeman over here.
If he wakes up, tell your boyfriend to watch his mouth.
He is not my boyfriend.
That's what she's upset about, actually.
Those are really nice shoes. Oh, please. Like, that's gonna... Hey! Watch the hair.
She could have just murdered Sander at that moment.
Start with the whelp. Dawn!
Ooh.
Buffy, get back! Nice catch.
Okay.
Is that the best you little
Got it.
crap naps could muster?
How do you ignore those two?
You did to my dress, you little... Just Katie.
Willow. Teleportation's
Okay, displacement.
still working out the kinks.
Where'd you send her?
Don't know. That's one of the kinks.
Just in the middle of the sky.
Oh,
She's on fire. That looks so fucking funny. Oh my god, that looks so fucking funny in the editing.
Hear you?
Okay, back to the episode.
Why do you care? Because I love you. You're my sister.
I'm not.
Yes, you are. It's blood. It's Summer's blood. It's just like mine. Doesn't matter where you came from or how you got here. You are my sister. There's no way you could annoy me so much if you weren't.
Okay.
So scared.
Yeah.
Me too.
I like this episode a lot. It's a good episode.
Ben, he was here. He was trying to help me. I
Mm.
think he might have left before Glory came. I can't remember.
Oh, that's interesting.
Is she mad about the whole fire thing?
She's worried.
I think you sort of have a get-out-of-jail-free card on account of big love and trauma.
Really? I think she'd raise my allowance. Don't push it.
She might, just out of her own volition. Cool. Okay, cool. I like that episode. I like that episode a lot. Okay, we got a Dawn episode, which I enjoyed. I really liked it. I feel like I like Dawn in this episode more than I've liked Dawn in every other episode before it. And that's not to say that I didn't like her before in any way. Sorry, I'm gonna turn off my phone notifications. But like, that's not to say that I didn't like Dawn before in any way. It's more so that this episode is the episode where I really liked Dawn's agency and what she was feeling in this episode. It was very real. Because I felt like before Dawn felt more like, ironically, it felt more like a thing. Not just for the rest of the cast, for like for the story itself. It felt like, you know, Dawn is kind of a device that doesn't feel in with the plot. Because she has feelings and she has her actions, but more often than not, it feels like she's just being dragged around. And her point in the plot has been like, well, she's the key. And it's like, her whole deal is that she's the key and now she's weird. And she feels weird about her being the key, but it's like, because she's been newly introduced into the show, it felt like she's like this season's like plot. And she might be at the end of the day, but this episode, she actually felt like an actual character with agency. She's not just a kid who's been dragged around and it's like, oh my god, that is like the special child of prophecy or whatever. It's like, no, she's actually feeling like shit, and we are following her like pretty much the entire episode. And I haven't thought about Dawn as much as I have in any other episodes as much as I have in this episode. And that's because in every other episode, we're kind of like following Buffy or whatever. Like, we're following other characters. In this episode, it felt like we were following Dawn. And, you know, we have the other characters doing their stuff. And we are following them as well. But I feel like it was maybe Dawn 50-50. Maybe even more than that. So I really enjoyed that. In simple terms of what the episode actually was, from like a real life sense, this is the episode where the younger sibling finds out in an awful manner that they're adopted and they become suicidal. That's what this was. It was clear to me before, and it was never clearer than in that moment where Buffy... They were talking to Dawn when Dawn was in the bed after the birthday party, and Buffy told her, what I care about is that my little sister is cutting herself. And it's like, oh my god, we just completely ignore the fantasy supernatural elements of this plot of like, you know, she's the key or whatever. And it's just like, no, this is a story about a depressive, suicidal younger sibling, and how do we all deal with that? Because and there's like this like weird revelation, there's a weird secret everyone kind of hides from her, and the only reason why everyone finds out literally 5 moments before is in order to exacerbate Dawn's feelings of like she's being avoided, like she's being kept out of the loop, like everyone is against her, like she feels alone because she is alone in a way. Everyone knows something that she doesn't, and I love that she just, very early in the episode, she just goes like, what does everyone know that I don't? Like, why does everyone get weird when I'm around? Like, and as a response to that, they all continue to be weird. And it's this thing where, like, everyone is treating her like the key. And like they are. Like, everyone is being weird around her. And if she was just a normal person, then you wouldn't be. But at the same time, I can't really get upset at everyone for that, because the situation is so weird that they also have to readjust very quickly. Like, maybe Buffy had told them before, then they maybe would have had a little bit more time to adjust, but even then the situation is just weird enough that, because like Buffy and Giles was still weird around her. And I like that Dawn is noticing that. I like that Dawn noticed that when she went to the magic shop, Buffy and Giles were talking about whatever, and then immediately changing the subject to Dawn, they were like, oh, Dawn, tell us about your day or whatever. And as they did that, you can see that Giles hit something, and Dawn noticed that. And it's this thing where, like, Dawn is not an idiot. In fact, she's actually very perceptive. This episode shows us that she's actually pretty aware of her surroundings, and she can be pretty insightful. She didn't prove to be that in episodes before, but it didn't come up before too much. So this is the episode where actually we get to see how insightful, and she pays attention to this. It's just like, what was that? What are you talking about? Why is everyone weird around me? Like, she has a hide insight because she just noticed how everyone shifts the moment that she walks into the room. And it is the thing where, like, you know, like, you can tell that that happens, but also Dawn is 14. You can maybe get away with hiding something like that from a 14-year-old, but Dawn seems to be a pretty smart 14-year-old. She seems to be pretty capable. She notices all of this. And okay, let's be honest also. Dawn is also, I wouldn't say a trope because it's just true. She's 14 and she's acting like a 14-year-old. And when you're 14, you feel like the world is out to get you. You feel like everyone is hiding something for you. Everyone is lying to you that you're not good enough. You're rotten and dead and evil and fucked up inside. Maybe that was just me and I'm just projecting a little bit. But like, you feel bad and you feel like you want to belong, but you feel like you don't. You feel like everyone else is operating on a different level that you are, and you want to be with them, but you can't. And you can feel how everyone keeps you at an arm's length on some level. And that is especially true because of the storyline we have here, where she's not adopted, but she's just straight up not real. And I do have to say, I did like a lot the existential crisis, like the existential nightmare of it all. That's something I really like. It wasn't explored as heavily as I would have expected, maybe in future episodes, but in this one. But I did like it whenever it came up because it felt on from like Buffy's angle and Joyce and the rest of the gang. It felt like, you know, your little sibling finds out that they're adopted. But on Dawn's side, it felt like, what am I? I genuinely loved when she showed up with a knife and just like blood just coming out of her arm. And she just showed up like this and she was like, is this blood? I love that. I love that moment. Everything that she said, like, it really came off of like a feeling of my entire world is crumbling. Like, I don't have anything to hold on to because she's not holding on to her family and the gang or whatever. They hide secrets from her, so she feels alone in that regard. And it's like, oh, I can't even hold on to myself. I don't really even have that anymore. So it feels like a weird nightmare of none of this is, I'm not like, what is real? If reality is to be perceived through the eyes that I own, but my eyes aren't real, then what is real? I know I just said a lot of words that maybe don't make any sense, but there's a big room to explore in realms of existential crisis in a situation that Dawn is in. So I like that Dawn immediately jumped there, and then she just started just cutting herself and being like, is this real? Is this real blood? Like, what is, like, everyone starts questioning the memory. Well, she questions the memories, which is interesting because I like that no one else questioned them. I mean, they questioned it a little, but generally speaking, it felt like they all, mostly Buffy, but it felt like they came from the angle of it doesn't matter, and that's what that's what Buffy told her at the end of the episode. It's like, it doesn't matter where you came from, when you showed up. You're still my sister, right? Like that's still it. And they did like almost like a blood pact thing. It's not a blood pact, but she was like, this is summer blood, right? It's both of us, right? And I do like that. But I also love an angle that maybe wasn't explored or said at all, but I really personally enjoy it, and I just genuinely believe it to be true. And it's something I said a couple episodes ago, which is, things are only as real as your brain tells you they are. And if your brain tells you that that is your sister and that you have all of these memories together, then that's just the truth. Like, if even if that wasn't like literally the truth in the real world perceived by an omnipresent, like, impartial eye, which is, I guess, the eye of the audience, even if that isn't true to us, the audience, it is true to them, the characters. Even if they realize, like, because, like, okay, imagine this. Just picture this. Picture that whoever the closest person in your life is, like your significant other or a sibling or your mom, whatever. Imagine that you found out randomly one day, like right now, I'm telling you that that person isn't real. That person isn't real. It was all a joke. Like, we implanted your brain with those memories. That didn't happen. That wouldn't change how you feel about that person. It would not change anything at all. You would tell me that I am crazy and that I'm lying, actually. And even if you got irrefutable proof that that was real, you would feel a little bit weird, but I don't think you would change your mind because that person is just a core part of who you are. And even if they weren't there before, technically, they were there in the sense that your brain tells you that they were there. So if that is the case, then that person is just real now. Because there's no like impartial observer of reality to tell you what is real and what isn't. The only reality you have to hold on to is the reality that you and your brain come up with. I feel like we're getting into another one of those, like, you know, engineers are banned from philosophical conversations or whatever, because it's like, I'm definitely going into the latter angle because I always do that. But it's the idea that, you know, if no one is there to tell you that something happened, did something really happen? Yes, there is an answer somewhere in the world, maybe. But like at the end of the day, that doesn't matter for your own personal reality, because what matters about your own personal reality is what your perception of it is. And if the gang's perception of reality is that Dawn is this 14-year-old girl that they've been hanging out for years with, then that is what reality is. There's no way around it. Everyone perceives that to be a reality, therefore that is reality. We can't say that that didn't happen because it did. For all intents and purposes, for every person that we know and care about and is a character in this show, it happened. And because it happened, it's real. And because it's real, we care now. So that wasn't an angle that wasn't said at all. It was more like, I love you, and you know, we're actual real blood sisters. But at the same time, they don't have the runtime to have this like whole philosophical argument happen. So yeah, I'm gonna give him a pass on that. But that's my angle, and that's why I really love this concept of Dawn. I really love what we're doing with Dawn here. And again, I love how Dawn acted in this episode. God, there was a moment, there was a scene that I really loved, which was, again, I think it was the scene when after the birthday party when they're at the bed with Dawn. And I love that they tried to get closer and Dawn just started screaming, "Get out, get out, get out." But her final get out was so visceral. It really came from a dark place. It was like a screech. It felt like so genuine. I love that get out. And I love Dawn's actress, whoever the actress is. Dawn's actress in this episode was fucking fantastic. I'm a big fan of that. She was great. And then eventually she makes her way to the hospital. She runs away, she escapes. I like that she just tore up her entire bedroom, burned everything down. Like, she's acting up, but she gets a pass on acting up after finding out what she has found out. I don't know how to say this, but like, I really love the dynamic we have here between Buffy and Dawn, because it feels so real to me, because I have an older sister who, okay, Buffy's turning 20, Dawn is 14, so they are 6 years apart. My sister and I are 7.5 years apart, almost 8. So, you know, a bit older, but you definitely feel the age gap, and you definitely feel like, is this just a general like global thing? How it is like with siblings? It can't be, right? It can't be, but at the same time, there has to be some kind of like level of, you know, things that are similar. You know, parents treat an older sibling in a certain way, maybe not always, but in a certain way. And then they treat the younger sibling in a different certain way. Maybe just the fact that there's an extra person or there is no extra person creates a difference in how they are raised and what kind of world they create in their minds and their perception of everything is. Because what I mean by this is that I see Buffy and I see my older sister and it's too real. And I see 14-year-old Dawn and I see myself and it's too real as well. Like, it's very real, the sibling dynamic. And it has never been at highest peak than in this episode. Dawn is desperate to feel like she belongs, but everyone is keeping her at a distance for reasons that make sense, but everyone is also being weird enough. And Dawn is clever enough to realize that everyone is being weird around her, but nobody's telling her anything. And when she straight up flat out asks, nobody says anything. So at that point, of course, you will lose trust in everyone around you because no one is actually there for you. Everyone continues to lie to you. And if that happens, and it's also like they didn't really go super hard on this angle, but they could have. There was definitely room for this, but the idea that it was Buffy's birthday, but Dawn feels like she's being ignored, everyone is dismissing her in a way. There was definitely a giant room for them to explore that, of like, oh, this is Buffy's special day, and everyone is like, yay, Buffy, you're great, here's gifts for you, and Dawn is sitting there in a corner being like, no one is looking at me. Which, like, there's definitely, they could have done a lot there. They didn't have to, but I'm telling you that there was a lot of room there. I have been in that situation. There was a lot to do in that situation regarding Dawn's character. I'm just gonna give that one to you for free. You can write your fanfic or whatever about, like, Dawn feeling like awful dog shit during Buffy's birthday. So Dawn tears everything apart. She cuts herself. She is questioning her own existence. And she wants answers. And eventually she ends up making her way to the hospital. And it makes sense that she goes to the hospital because the way she found out was by reading Giles' notes. And she knows that, you know, people that are crazy can tell her that she's not real. So what she's doing is she's going to the hospital and she's like, what do you guys see? Because at the point that Dawn is in, Dawn feels desperate and she not only wants answers, she wants to know who she is, she wants to know where she belongs or if she belongs anywhere. But more so than that, she needs, like, on a core level, she needs validation in the sense of, I am allowed to even exist at the point she's in. She wants validation in the sense that, you know, I'm a real person and I deserve to belong. She needs validation in the sense that, you know, my family, my friends love me, but, like, she's not getting any of it. In fact, she's questioning all of that and she feels like that's not the case. So she goes to the hospital and tries to get any kind of information from the people there. And the only information she gets is, I don't see you. You're not real. I can't see you. And the only person that knows tells her, you're gonna bring about the apocalypse and you need to go. You need to fucking die or something. It's just like, you're the link to the apocalypse and you will bring about the destruction of everything. It's like, and that goes into not just the idea of just being invisible and feeling like you don't belong, but that goes into the idea of feeling like rotten, feeling like you're wrong, which is something that happens a lot. And I can imagine that also going into the younger sibling dynamic, it can happen a lot because you feel like, especially someone like Buffy, you feel like your older sibling is so accomplished, but the younger sibling, you feel like there is something for you to measure yourself up to, and you don't feel like you achieve that. And after a certain point of feeling like you can't achieve that, you just kind of give up because you just decide, oh, I'm just not good enough. Like, I'm just wrong and bad actually, so I shouldn't even try. That is the younger sibling experience. Contrast to the older sibling experience, which is, I am trying really hard to achieve because I need validation from, you know, my parents. And they tell me that I should do this, so I'm going to do it. So you are striving to achieve as a result of that. Maybe you're trying to prove something, but the younger sibling, of course, some of them can turn into a competition and they can overachieve as well. But the younger siblings, I feel like, because there is a measuring tape, there is something you're measuring yourself up to. There is someone that you have to live with every day that you're measuring yourself up to. And if you're not able to reach that point, then at some point you just give up. I also love how the way she was handling this situation was to say, okay, Dawn needs answers. I need to find out answers for Dawn, which is a very practical solution, but I'm not sure if a practical solution is what is needed at the moment, and I don't think it is. And I think that Buffy realized that at the end of the episode. Because yes, Dawn was seeking answers, wanted to know more about herself. Like, that is absolutely true. But the issue is not Dawn knowing about her origins. The issue is feeling safe, feeling like she belongs, feeling like she has a place and that people care about her. Right now, she feels completely alone and completely lost. None of these people give a shit about me, and also I'm not real. So like, what do I have? I don't even have myself to hold on to. So Buffy's solution of being pragmatic in the sense of, yeah, let's try to find out what the answers are so we can provide them for Dawn, because she needs answers right now. Like, yeah, she needs them, but I don't think that's a priority right now. And that's why I like what Joyce said. Joyce was like, I don't think she needs the Slayer right now. I think she needs the sister. She needs you, Buffy. And she doesn't need you to go out there and try to find out like what the answers to everything are. She needs you here to take care of her. And like, because of Buffy's like words, she runs away. And I do like that the show had to like clarify. I mean, I don't know if it's a little funny that the show had to clarify how Buffy said something like, let me try to get the actual line. She probably feels like she can say or do anything right now. She's not real. We're not her family. We don't even know what she is. And of course, then the show had to first show us Dawn having an outrage, and then cuts back to Buffy and Joyce. And immediately after she says that, Joyce says, "How could you say that?" And Buffy goes like, "Well, that's not what I'm saying, but that's probably what she's thinking." I do like that because this is a weird tangent, but I do like that because sounds weird, but I feel that way whenever I record a YouTube video. Like, I feel like I put myself in the shoes of whatever I'm saying, and I just assume that people understand what I'm trying to say. And then maybe someone doesn't, and then I have to like clarify. That's not me saying it. That's just me putting the thought out in the like within a specific context. So that's not me literally saying it. That's just me putting it out as a thought experiment of, this is probably what this person is thinking or feeling, or this is a general thought or feeling that could exist, but that's not me saying it literally. So I like how the show had to pull back and tell you Buffy didn't actually say that. Buffy didn't mean that. She's just speaking from the context of, this is probably what Dawn is thinking. Because like, I understood that, and I feel like most of us probably understood that. I feel like the audience understands that that's what Buffy meant. But there always are going to be some people that are going to thinking like, how could Buffy say that? And then they had to be like, she didn't say it, don't worry, she didn't say that, she wasn't that mean. She just said something that sounded really bad for someone that just heard the 5-second snippet, which was Dawn, because we need extreme drama to happen. This show loves having this like extreme drama of like characters like finding out that like one thing that sets them off, and it's completely out of context, and it's just like it hurts because it's like, of course the worst thing possible was gonna happen. But something that they do is that the worst thing possible happens, and then it is resolved in a way that feels like, by showing you the worst thing, then they show you the nice thing at the end, and then you go like, oh, that's nice, and then you feel good about it. Let's talk about Ben. I like that. And let's talk about Rasputin. So, last episode, Rasputin was mentioned in a way that made me feel like I was maybe crazy, because they talk about Rasputin in a manner that felt so odd that the only thing I thought about was, oh, Rasputin's gonna be important to the plot somehow. Because it was just a scene about Buffy at college, and then they're talking about Rasputin, and then Buffy's like, well, he could still be alive, you know, there's sightings of him or whatever, and it's just like, what the fuck is she talking about? And that scene went on for a couple minutes. You could take that scene as like, you know, people making fun of Buffy and she's having a bad day. That felt really out of place. That was like, what the fuck is this scene? So the only thing I thought about was like, they're setting up Rasputin. And I asked on Patreon if Rasputin was before. Well, I asked on the episode and people on Patreon replied to me if Rasputin showed up before and I just didn't remember. No, Rasputin didn't show up before. So that means that Rasputin's going to show up in the future, I'm pretty sure. That's what I'm thinking. And my theory that I had in that episode was, I don't know, there's like 3 different groups, maybe 4 or whatever, with the Knights of the Vicentium. And I was like, okay, we have Glory, we have Ben the Doctor, and then there's a 3rd group with the Knights of the Vicentium. And then also Rasputin was mentioned in a way that made me feel like Rasputin might become important. So I was counting that as like, I don't know, maybe a 4th group, or maybe Rasputin is the leader of the Knights of the Vicentium or some shit. So that narrows down the nice 3 groups. And then in this episode, they tell us that Glory is some kind of god demon. She's kind of like one of the lords of hell. She ruled over like a hell dimension. There's apparently multiple of them, just an entire realm. And she ruled them alongside other two. So there's like 3 gods of this specific like hell plane. Glory is one of them. The other one I would have to imagine is Ben. And the third one I would have to imagine is Rasputin. That's what I'm thinking. I'm locking in that like guess. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right because I'm pretty sure Rasputin is coming. Because we're keeping a third like main antagonist secret. And I feel like the third main antagonist has to be kind of a pop-off. Like, you have to look at it and be like, oh shit, that was the third one, you know? And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, there's no one that it could be that you would have that pop-off with. Unless they introduce a character like next episode and then like in the finale they reveal like I was behind it all and it's like, oh my god, that was the third one. Maybe, I guess a character that would be like the leader of the Watcher Council. Maybe that guy is the third guy, because like it's not gonna be any of our main cast. It's not gonna be fucking Giles or Sander being like secretly I was behind it. Like, no, our main cast is sacred. They're not touching them. They're not gonna be a reveal of like the last 5 years of your life where we're alive, Buffy. We were evil all along. Like, that's not happening. So I'm thinking like a layer further, and it's like, well, what other character is around that could potentially be a main bad guy? And I feel like it's either the leader of the Watcher Council, or it has to be someone that you, the audience, can identify yourself, not from within the show, but just generally. And if they go, it was this historical figure that was also mentioned episodes ago in that one scene where Buffy just kept talking about like, oh, maybe he's around. That would be a pop-off. It would be like, oh shit, it's Rasputin? You're telling me that Rasputin didn't die because he was immortal? He was actually immortal and also a god? He was literally a sex god. Yeah, sure. Fuck yeah. That would be a pop-off. And I'm thinking Rasputin is the third sibling. And I'm saying sibling, I could be wrong. But Ben did mention, like, he had a moment of, like, you know, I get you, you know. I also have a sister, and we also have this relationship that is very complicated, and I just kind of want to strangle her sometimes. It's like, Ben? Okay, let's talk about Ben as a character. I like this because what I'm thinking is we have several groups. Glory, main antagonist. Ben, I don't know what he is. We'll just keep it there. Rasputin, question mark. Probably a main antagonist, I don't know. Knights of the Byzantium could also be in the group of Rasputin, but I'm gonna put them in a different spot. Because they feel like they are in like a sacred order that is like trying to stop the demon apocalypse from coming or whatever. So I would have to imagine that they're not working for Rasputin. Unless Rasputin is a good demon god and he is actively trying to stop the rest. But no, I don't think that's true, because that is the role that Ben fits in. And that is something I like. I loved whenever, like, first I was afraid for whenever Dawn was telling Ben all of these things. But then I really liked it because I thought that Ben was just going to be like, oh, you're the key, cool, we need that right now. He didn't do that. Instead, he gave me something much better, which was, I love that he immediately freaked out. He was like, oh, you're the key. Like, he had this, like, exasperated reaction of like, oh my fucking god. And then you felt fear in him in like a very reactive, like, you could see the fear and the way he was acting. And he was like, she's coming, you gotta run, you need to get the fuck out of here. Like, I love how desperate he turned immediately. And Dawn was like, you know, tell me, like, I want to know. And he was like, you need to get out, you need to run. And I was sitting here thinking like, okay, that's really cool. It's really cool that he's acting this way, because it adds to a sense of urgency. It adds to a sense of, oh, this is more complex than I thought it would be. Because I thought he was just really be like on the bad guys team. He's not. He was actively like, you need to get out, you need to run. That gives me this sense of like, he's afraid of Glory. and he's afraid of what can happen to Glory or what Glory will like bring about, it's not that he would be sad or disappointed. It's that he's afraid. And afraid is a very exciting spot to be in for a fictional character. I'm sitting here like, oh, what is he afraid of? Like, what will happen if Glory gets the key? Because there is a thing of like, our main cast, they don't know what the key is for. They don't know what Glory is trying to get to. And so they're operating on this idea of like, okay, we gotta stop it, but we don't actually know what we're stopping. Ben knows, and because Ben knows, he's afraid. And for someone to know to be afraid, and someone who is presented to be like Glory's equal, for him to be afraid, that adds a lot to this, like, why is he afraid? Like, what is gonna happen if she gets it? Because he knows, and because he knows he's afraid. And it's this idea of, like, knowledge. Because there's this, like, fear of the unknown. This is fear of the known, which is much more interesting than fear of the unknown, actually. Like, fear of the unknown is, like, every day in my goddamn life. Fear of the known is this, like, cursed knowledge that if you know what's gonna happen, it paralyzes you with fear. And it's so interesting to me. So having Ben immediately shift to just screaming like, no, you need to get out, that was so fun for me. I love that. And that also tells me that very confidently Ben is not in the bad guys' esteem. Ben is at the very least just kind of a their group that's just kind of chilling. He actively doesn't want Glory to get the key or himself to get the key. And this is where, okay, I'm gonna start with theory time now. I think that the key brings about the apocalypse in some way. I don't know in what way, but in some way. The end of things or whatever happens whenever Glory gets the key, like the ascension of the Demon Lord or something. I think that Ben doesn't want that. First of all, because there might be a power imbalance of like Glory's gonna get the key and I won't. So therefore now she can just kill me. But I think that Ben just likes the planet, maybe? Like something that I was thinking about earlier, said like a couple episodes ago, I was like, Ben eats people in the hospital ward by eating the brains of the people that are gonna die anyway, or people that are like dying. So he's like, well, this is the best I got. So he does that in order to like lay low. But now I'm thinking that maybe he's just a cool human. And maybe he's not human, but he wants to be human. Maybe Ben likes Earth and he likes humanity. Maybe he's a demon god or whatever, but maybe he's a nice one. Maybe he's like, actually, I don't want to do that shit. I just want to do my thing. And I just want to live within the humans, hide amongst them. And maybe even the reason why he's a doctor, and maybe this is just me. This is me just being too nice to this guy who I know nothing about. But maybe the reason why he's a doctor is because he's like, yeah, I want to help people. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's just a nice guy. Maybe he's just cool. Like, maybe there's, like, yeah, he has this, like, weird, creepy origin, but maybe he's just like, I don't want to deal with that shit. So that's why they keep coming to him and being like, you know, you could cooperate with our Mistress Glory. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And it's not because he's like a rebel. He's like, you know, like, I do my own thing and I'm going to be the most powerful birthday boy. He's like, no. He's like, I don't want to do that shit. I just want to chill. And she continues trying to recruit me. She's trying to get information out of me. And I don't want to help her because I don't want to bring about the apocalypse. I just want to coexist amongst the humans. Maybe he's not that nice to humans. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But what I'm giving a lot of, like, credibility to is my theory of the fact that maybe he just enjoys living as a human. Maybe Glory doesn't, but maybe Ben does. Maybe he actually loves, I don't know, he loves that 9 to 5. He loves that grind. I don't know why you would, but like maybe he just loves chilling among humans. And honestly, like that would be a fun character. that reminds me a little bit of the Doctor from Doctor Who. It's the idea of someone that is like a transcendental being through time and space. Is someone that has seen too much, has seen pretty much everything the universe has to offer, and has been in every position imaginable. So there's like almost nothing left to this character. But the reason why you have a companion in Doctor Who is because you want to grab a character who hasn't seen things, a character who is new to the world, and a character who is excited to learn and understand and see and experience. And the Doctor then kind of uses them as a way for him to experience wonder, because he realizes that like the one thing that you can always marvel about is other people. So he's like, yeah, I've seen everything in the universe and I have the power to do all sorts of crazy shit that I could. I just don't want to. Because he realizes that the thing that brings him actual happiness is seeing other people. So maybe Ben comes kind of from a similar angle of, I just like seeing people do things, so I like coexisting among them. I talk to my coworkers about their daily lives, and it's like, hell yeah, man. Like, I like hearing about that. It's like the beauty of the simplicity of like an everyday life, of like a random person. If that is the direction we go with Ben, honestly, I would like it a lot. I love that in the Doctor. I would love that here. If Ben just turned out to be a guy who's just like really cool because he likes people, he likes seeing people experience things that he has already experienced as someone who has lived eternity and is just tired of everything. He's just like, well, I like seeing what my buddy John does. You know, John is fun. And there's two different ways to take that. Like, you could take that from the direction of, you know, here is another person and it's like, wow, isn't it wonderful how amazing people can be because they're so complex and they have so many things to them and you can never predict what they're gonna do. Or you can take it the other direction of, look at this cute pet that I have. It's just a grown-ass human man, but to me it's a pet because I'm above them. There's a couple different angles you can take that. But I would like it if Ben was just... He just liked humanity just because he's tired of everything else. So he just likes seeing people do things because that's the only thing that's new. So he doesn't want to end the world because reigning a world that's ended and there's nothing left except for you and maybe glory, it's like, and people that serve you, it's like, yeah, what the why would I want to do that? Fuck that. That sounds boring as shit. So that's maybe the angle I'm coming from with Ben. That's the vibe I'm getting, maybe a little bit. I mean, it's not a vibe, I'm just literally making shit up, but I would like it if that was the case. Because at the very least, we can say that he's not cooperating with Glory. He actively refuses. He had the key delivered to him on a table on a silver platter, and he was like, you need to go. You need to leave. Like, I'm not gonna tell her shit, just go. So that was really fun. And then Glory and then he turned into Glory. I like that a lot. That was shocking. I love that. Because I feel like that probably caught people. There's probably a reaction-worthy moment from like a lot of channels where it's just like, she's coming, and you're thinking like, oh, she's coming here. She's literally like running here. And it's like, no, she's literally took control of his body. Like, she just showed up there. I don't know exactly what happened there. I don't know if they swapped places, if she took over him or what. I don't know what it was. And that made me question the like power hierarchy. What I'm thinking is that they probably traded places. But if the power hierarchy was confusing to me because like if she just did that, but she doesn't have power over him, like that doesn't really add up. So I'm thinking that maybe because they are connected, like family, they mentioned family, there is a couple of things that they can do where she sensed in him that he was having some kind of like emotional reaction to a mention of a key or something, and then she was like, oh, I can hear that, I need to go there, and then she just did some magic and they did traded places. Like I can see that happening, and maybe Ben doesn't know how to do that too, or maybe there is some kind of like cooldown on it. I don't know, because what would stop him from him just doing that and switching back and then going like, you really run or whatever, right? Like, so yeah, I don't know what the mechanics behind that is. It doesn't matter. I'm just asking questions that nobody's interested in. I like Ben a lot more as we're going on into the story because he's such a mysterious character. We know just enough to know that there is something about him, but we don't know what it is. But what's Okay, but what's cool is that, like, he actually sat down here with Dawn. He listened to her, and he was, like, giving her advice and stuff. And because, like, that's giving me, is making me think that he's actually kind of cool. And that when he said that to Buffy, he was actually being cool to her, too. He was just being nice. So that could be the case. All right, anyway, I love this episode for Dawn. Dawn was great in this episode. She had a lot of agency. She asked a lot of questions. She felt very real. She was like, I'm not stupid. Please tell me. And then they didn't. And of course, she would react in the way that she reacted. I've been there before. But okay, Spike. We gotta talk about Spike a little bit, I guess. Every episode, I feel like I go like, I guess I have to talk about Spike again. Spike was fun in this episode. Oh my god, he showed up to Buffy's birthday with the chocolate box, and Dawn was like, it's all beat up, and it's just like, oh my god, it's the same chocolate box from the other episode where he was like practicing with a mannequin, and then he gets into a fight with the mannequin, and then he just like beats up the chocolate box and throws it into the floor, and then he just picks it up, puts the chocolates back in. And then he starts to repeat the same scene, like he's practicing. And then he just brings the same box here. It's like, at least get a new one, man. Please, at least just get a new one. I'm sure that if he had given her the chocolates, Buffy would have been like, half of these are gone. But something I did like is that, so Spike and Dawn broke into this place, into the magic shop. And they found out the truth. And they found out that Spike was the one that helped her get there. And it's like, why did you do that? Like, how could you help her understand this? And then Spike is like, I didn't know. And it's like, that's true. Like, he didn't know. Like, if Buffy had instructed him, like, okay, there is something about Dawn that, like, she can't know. She's trying to know something. You have to stop her or whatever. Like, maybe he would have done something about it. Or if she had just told him, like, she is the key or whatever, like, we need to protect her because she's very special. I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't tell Spike. I just wouldn't tell Spike. Spike feels like he would just say it. He wouldn't give a shit. He would just say it, and then Dawn would find out. So it makes sense that they didn't tell Spike. But then getting upset at Spike for being the reason why she found out, it's like, well, he didn't know either, right? Like, he didn't have any inclination as to like, oh, this is something I should keep her away from. His directive from Buffy was, I'm afraid for my family that they're gonna fucking die. And Spike is like, all right, she's sneaking out and she's going into the magic shop or whatever, and I could just like yell at her to go back inside or whatever, but like I also can't do anything. And I would guess I could go and tell Buffy, hey, your sister is sneaking out or whatever, but at the same time it feels like that's just gonna create more problems. So Spike is just like, all right, I'll go with you, fuck it, like, we'll go and steal some shit, like, this might be fun. So he's in it because it's like, this is fun, but at the same time he's like kind of being her bodyguard. He's like, yeah, Buffy did tell me to take care of her, so like, yeah, sure, this sounds fun, sure, I'll tag along. So it's like, he's not actually doing it from a bad place. Buffy then comes in and is angry at him, and it's just like, fuck you, how could you? And it's like, I didn't know, like, all I did was just tag along with her, and honestly, you told me to take care of her, so I was like, sure, I do that, that sounds fun. And it's like, yeah, he wasn't being bad there. He was just like, yeah, sure, I'll tag along. So then Buffy eventually realizes that. But I do like that Spike confronted her, and he was right in the sense that he was like, maybe if you had just told her, if you had just trusted her and been honest with her, this wouldn't have happened, because this is coming from the place of Dawn feeling like she's being left alone, Dawn feeling like she doesn't belong, and you can't blame her for it because she didn't belong. Everyone was keeping her at arm's length. Everyone was just being distant. Spike was the only person that wasn't distant. Oddly enough, Spike was just like, yeah, let's hang out. Let's go and break into the magic show, whatever, I'll help. Like, Spike was being cool. Ironically, Spike was the only person that wasn't being distant. Maybe he was a little underwhelmed when they found out that Dawn wasn't real, and he was like, huh, I guess that's what you are. Like, maybe, like, he didn't show a lot of, like, care or concern or anything, but, like, why would he? He's Spike. But he's the only person that was, like, willing to just, like, hang out with Dawn and just pay her attention and, like, any sense. Everyone else was just being weird around Dawn, and Dawn could feel it. So the fact that Spike was like, maybe if you had been honest with her, and if you had just like talked to her, like, this wouldn't happen, because Like, yeah, Dawn is her own person. She's her own, like, being. She's a human. Just treat her normally, and then she would be like, okay, cool. Because, okay, there's two angles that Dawn's, like, pain comes from here, and it's one of them is existential nightmare. What am I? I'm not real. And the other one is like, what do you mean I'm adopted? Which is, I don't belong with you. But if you just tell her like, okay, Dawn, we gotta talk about something that is really important. The reason why we tell you this is because we have to be honest with you. I want to be honest with you because I care about you. Okay? Okay. This is really important, and you're gonna freak out, but it's okay. I need you to understand that we're here with you. We're here for you. We love you. You're my sister, and I love you, okay? Okay. And just kind of hold her hand. Just be there and take it very slow. And then you slowly explain to her the situation. And of course she's gonna freak out. Of course she's gonna freak out. She's gonna freak out over the fact that I'm not real. But she would have the support of her family and friends. As long as you have people with you to help you through those times, you can push through. And we see her at the end of the episode. It seems like Dawn is going to push through. She's going to be fine. But we had to go through this entire ordeal of like Dawn running away and just feeling alone and escaping. Because like that's the other thing about like cutting yourself and self-harm in general. And it's a delicate subject I'm not going to like delve super into right now, because this is not a subject that I feel like we should be talking about it in a reaction episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is not what this is. Though we have covered like also dark topics in the show a couple of times. There was okay, I'm reminded if there was an episode about like relationship abuse like a couple seasons ago, and I remember people being like, yeah, but like I don't know if Buffy was the right place to explore this. And I remember I read that and I was like, you know what? I think you're right. I think that is the right assessment. It's like, even if there is like something to that episode that might be good and might have some kind of like positive effect in people, at the same time, I don't know if this is the show to do it. So in a similar manner, I don't know if this is the video to talk about self-harm in a manner where I could feel like I could do it justice. So I'm just not gonna do that. It's just very sad, and it would be rich from me telling you not to do that, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Don't self-harm. It's bad. Hopefully you can have someone to talk to instead, because I feel like that's really what you need at the end of the day. So that's what Dawn needs. And in a way, the self-harm, she approached it from like an existential nightmare angle, which I feel like it's sidestepping the real life like implication of what this is a little bit, which I don't know if it's good or not, but let's say it's okay, because they're not interested in exploring that necessarily. But self-harm traditionally is coming from a place of, I want someone to notice that this is happening. Like, I want someone to be able to tell that this is happening. I want someone to give me attention. And this is an interesting thing that I've come to learn since like back then. It's the idea that wanting attention isn't a bad thing. I feel like there is a push in society in general that makes you feel like self-sacrifice or selflessness is like a virtue that you should strive for. And anything that is selfish, anything that you do out of your own desire and feelings, that comes from a place of selfishness. And that is something that you should avoid. So doing something quote unquote for the attention or whatever, it's the idea of like, oh, you're not even hurting, you're just faking it for attention. And that's just probably the worst possible thing to say. That is the thing that gets people killed. Because something you eventually come to understand is that people need attention. Humans are social creatures, and feeling like you belong, like you fit in, like you have just a crumb of, I guess not attention, but more so like validation, like social validation from other people. I don't want to say everybody, but I would say that most people crave that on some level or another. Almost sometimes in imperceptible ways. Like maybe you don't even realize how much you want it until maybe you don't have it, and then you go, oh, I feel like dead inside. I am not being given any attention or validation, and I feel like absolute dog shit, and I just want people to see me. And that's not, and that is not like a, okay, how do I explain this? I love how I said I wasn't going to talk about this and then I did, but that is not coming from a place of I'm just acting up and you shouldn't pay attention to children when they act up because that pain isn't real or whatever. What that means is you should very much pay attention to people when they do that, because that tells you that they are kind of on the line. They are kind of on the verge of, it's a surface tension right now. And they are desperate for you to just like notice that everything's about to explode. Everything's about to blow up. And you need to realize that right now because there's no other time. It's like a last desperate attempt. And when people are that desperate, it heralds really bad things happening in the near future. Because let's say that if you take that approach, the approach of self-harm, and you don't get a response, that might be the end. Because that is the absolute worst thing you could possibly do, and it is not getting a response. And if that isn't getting a response, that means that there's no response to be had. And if there is no response to be had, you just give up. Because it's like, oh, so none of this matters then. I feel like the show was kind of sidestepping a little bit. Maybe a little bit heavy for them to explore that. But they touched on it lightly, just with like a stick from like a little bit of a distance. And I think that is the worst aspect of what Dawn is going through. It's the idea of feeling like you don't belong and nobody cares. Everyone is lying to you, just talking behind your back. Like, this is not for you. You don't belong here. You're alone. Nobody cares. If you just open up to her in a nice, controlled manner, and you're nice, and you explain, and you're honest, and you're there for that person. More importantly, the most important part is being there for that person. You can tell them, yeah, you're not real. You were made 6 months ago. You're some kind of supernatural entity key something. But you're still my sister and I still love you and we're gonna get through this together, okay? I got you, I'm here for you. And I'm telling you this, not because I want you to hurt, but because I need you to know this is important. I want to be honest with you because you deserve to know, okay? Okay. Like, if you take that approach, this wouldn't have happened. This entire episode wouldn't have happened. It would have been an episode about Dawn having an existential crisis, but she would have navigated that existential crisis with her family and her friends. Would have been nice. This was her feeling alone, first and foremost. Her having an existential crisis was part of the problem, but the main problem is the fact that she felt like her family wasn't her family, like they didn't care. That was the actual problem. Anyway, heavy episode on some levels. I feel like I talked a lot because I also did 2 different recordings, because I went and I got some groceries in between recording the first half and the second half. So now I feel like I have like maybe an hour and a half of conversation. Oh my fucking god. Hi. Extra thing I want to record here. It's like 7 a.m. I'm in the middle editing the video, but like an extra thing I noticed, a scene that happened in the middle of the episode when Dawn like completely messes up her room and then just runs away. Like, something else I wanted to point out that it's I did kind of touch on it, but like it's so clear to me now that I rewatch it, and it's that Joyce is of the idea of we need to let Dawn know that she's still a part of this family, that we love her and we care about her, which is true. I talked about that extensively, but Buffy is taking this like very like practical approach of like, if we just let her know like where she came from, if we find the answers for her, that will make it better. And it's like, no, like Buffy doesn't understand how Dawn feels, at least not until the very end. Like, Buffy believes that Dawn is acting up based on her like idea of I am just like a fucked up thing, like an entity. But the core of Dawn's problems is the fact that she feels rejected and she feels like she doesn't belong. That is the core of most of her issues, which is why when she hears them say what they said, which is not what they said, but it's what she heard, you know, them rejecting her, you know, we're not her family or whatever, that's when she freaks out and runs away. But something very important about that scene is that Buffy says, I need to be out there because I need to be figuring out what is happening, and I need to take care of Dawn by beating up this like goddess from like the bitch dimension or whatever she said. So she's fighting with Joyce over the idea that Joyce says we should take care of her, and Buffy says, no, I should be like defending us by taking care of the problem and finding answers. So not really being like nurturing in any way or caring, but rather just being more actionable. And this mentality is also something that is telling you what happens immediately afterwards, which is Dawn destroys her room and runs away. They hear the alarm, the witch alarm or whatever, and Buffy's first thought is Glory came here and took her. So then they ran in there because Buffy thought that Glory came here. Then they realized that Glory didn't come here. And then Buffy saw Dawn's room, and then she saw the fire, and she was like, oh my god, she set up a fire. She's in so much trouble. Like, Buffy is first jumping to a conclusion of, I have this enemy that I have to punch that is here to take my sister. Then she jumps to, oh, my enemy didn't come here. It was just my sister being a shit. Oh, she's in so much trouble. And then she realizes, oh, Dawn ran away because she just felt like shit. And it's this idea of like, Buffy is continuing to push Dawn away on like an intimate sense in terms of like emotionally. She's treating her like she doesn't really have much agency, like she's a problem, which is how she's treated her before. And she changes this by the end of the episode, which is it, but it's important to mention that before that happens, Buffy does have to go through this like kind of like realization of, oh, I am fully wrong, because Buffy is first of all thinking about fighting my enemy, then thinks about shifting the blame towards Dawn, and then she comes to the realization that, wait, Dawn ran away by herself because she feels like she doesn't belong with us. And that is actually the biggest threat. That is actually the biggest problem. And that is also what Spike said to her, which is, because you think you keep her out of the loop, like she's just gonna go out and do shit anyway. Like Donna is her own person, she has her own agency, and if you just keep her at a distance, she's just gonna go and get herself killed. And that is the actual, like, that is the number one problem, is the fact that you are not connecting with her. So the fact that Joyce and Buffy have that like discussion, and like Joyce is fully right in what she's saying, and she's proven right at the end of the episode when Buffy actually connects with Dawn and says like, we're blood sisters, like for sure. Like that's when Buffy finally realizes what Joyce said, it's true. But that also means that this entire sequence where Buffy is just like, first it's like, oh, Glory came here, and then it's like, oh, this fucking kid set up her room on fire, she could have burned the house down. And it's like, Buffy, you're not actually worried about her, but she is. Like, I'm not saying that she isn't, but it's more like she's not thinking about the right things. She's approaching it from a very practical standpoint of like, when your parents are worried about you hurting yourself physically, and because of that, they like lock you down and don't allow you to have any friends or go and do anything fun or whatever. And they don't realize that this is creating different types of repercussions that are harmful to you. And this is just a random example I pulled out of my ass, but it's like, it's kind of the same concept of like, Buffy is focusing on taking care of Dawn on like a sense of like, oh, I'm not gonna let Glory take her, or like, oh, I'm gonna figure out the answers so Dawn can like feel better, I guess. And it's like, what Dawn needs to feel better is for you to understand that she wants you to care about her, that she wants you to see her as someone that matters to you, as like your sister, because you give a shit about her feelings. But you're not doing that. Buffy's just gonna get distracted in like a practical sense. But it's fine because she realizes that that's wrong at the end of the episode, and it all ends very well. But it is something that I still just wanted to point out, because it's like, it's so clear as it is happening that this is where Buffy is coming from. And again, this is something I mentioned during the episode itself when I recorded it the first time, but like, it's so clear to me how perfect of a like younger sibling, older sibling dynamic this is. And maybe this is just my personal experience, but just based on my own personal experience, this is very real. Just like, it's so easy for me to put myself in Dawn's shoes, and then it's so easy to look at Buffy and I just see my older sister. And this is creating, I've mentioned this before, but this is really creating this like weird effect on Buffy the show as well as Buffy the character, where it is becoming more and more difficult for me to relate to Buffy Summers because I just see my sister, and I don't want to see the polar opposite, but closer to the polar opposite than something similar. So when I see Buffy acting in the ways that she has been acting pretty much the entire season, I see the reflection of someone who I know very well that I probably wouldn't say I relate to or empathize with very much. It is someone that I understand, but it is not someone that I feel on like an empathetic level. So it is becoming more and more difficult for me to like vibe with Buffy as a character. But on the flip side, I am really enjoying Dawn. I really enjoyed Dawn this episode. So yeah, that's just an extra thing I wanted to say. Oh god, this was like an extra 10 minutes. What the fuck am I doing? Okay, thank you guys for listening to this. It's like 7:30 in the morning. I'm gonna stop this and go back to editing. Bye. Okay, I'm just gonna stop here. I don't know what else to say. Spike was actually very supportive here. In a moment with Buffy, Spike was like, "You're gonna find her. Don't worry, you'll find her." Like, and that was just very nice. How many episodes until they become an item? How many episodes until Buffy dates Spike? As crazy as that sounds. Okay, sure. Rasputin's coming. See you guys next time. Bye. All right, hello. This is a weird recording. So I am adding this onto the episode that I recorded a couple weeks ago now because I feel like I should. I feel like this is probably the place to talk about it. So it is currently February 28th as I'm recording this. I am recording this before I record the next episode, but in February 26th, it came out that Michelle Trachtenberg, the actress that played Dawn in Buffy, was found dead in her apartment by her mother. And that's just a wave of news that I just happened to came upon of. I just saw that and I like couldn't believe it. But I went to check, and for sure enough, that happened to be true. And it just made me very sad. And I can imagine that a lot of you are probably very sad by this. A lot of people were talking about it. This is a news piece that I saw many people talk about it. Buffy was something that came up in like a conversation with a friend who doesn't watch the show, doesn't know anything about it. And he was telling me, oh yeah, my mom was watching that apparently there was this actress that died. And I was like, yep, that did happen. So this is a news article that, lots of people they have thoughts they want to share. They care. I can see why. And I do now because I am also part of this. And it is... I am going to start by saying that I am not going to claim to be someone who even knew this person because I didn't. This was a complete stranger to me. And I am not going to be weirdly parasocial about it. This was someone that to her close friends and family, they knew her, and I'm sure that they feel awful as they should. And that's the way I would feel if it was someone that I knew personally. And nothing that I could say could even come close to like what they are feeling and what they could say about this loss. So I'm not going to try to even get in that area. But what I will say is that I do feel like shit because The reason why this also like kind of weirdly got me is because the last recording I did was on the episode Blood Ties, which is, I'm going to be adding this to the end of that episode, so it's going to be in the same video. I recorded Blood Ties, and in that video, it was, I mentioned it, like kind of the real theme of that episode. You know, as I say, Buffy is a show that kind of it expresses real themes that happen kind of in real life, but through a supernatural lens, and that's the way they explore them. But kind of that episode touched on two things. One of them was the idea of, you know, what if your younger sibling found out that they were adopted? How would they react to that? And the other one is, what if they were suicidal, right? What if they ended up turning to self-harm? What would that be like? And those are very grim topics to talk about regarding this character, who I also mentioned that this is a character that I felt, honestly, probably more in tune with than anyone else in the cast, honestly. Like, I love Tara, and I love Faith. Actually, Faith. Okay. The two characters that I probably feel like I can empathize with the most are Faith and Dawn. Dawn more so than anyone else in the main cast right now. And I think that's something I pretty much said when I watched Blood Ties. And I was very happy that in Blood Ties, Dawn sort of stepped into a role that is more, that she drove most of what was happening, because it felt like in episodes prior, at least in this season, Dawn was sort of a MacGuffin character that was introduced and is just kind of sitting there and she's being dragged around. But previous episode actually turned her more real, which is something I very much enjoyed. And it's a character that I feel like I can empathize a lot because of my personal experiences. I definitely relate to Dawn the most when it comes to the younger sibling and the dynamic and how you feel regarding everyone and regarding yourself. There's so many elements of that I spoke at length that I really enjoyed about Dawn, and it kind of meant a lot more to me than probably any other character. So I was really enjoying this character, Dawn, and I even praise Michelle's delivery of, like, I think a line where she just screamed like, "Get out." There was a delivery of a line that was so visceral that I actively praise her performance in that episode. And sorry, this is a little bit like, you know, I'm just kind of rambling. I don't really have a clear direction where I'm going with this, but it's just, I just wanted to talk about how I feel regarding the situation, because I feel like I also can't ignore it, but at the same time, I also feel like shit. And the more so I'm recording this because I feel like when this episode comes out, if there is no acknowledgement of what happened, it's gonna feel weird, and I don't want people to feel weird when watching this. So I think we should maybe turn this into a place to like actually talk about it. If you want to leave a comment just talking about Michelle and how you felt about her performances and stuff, or like Dawn, not in a spoilery way, but in like a, you know, how you felt about the character, like that would be nice. Like a place to kind of like express our feelings a little bit. Like that's what I'm trying to do here. Myself, that's what I'm trying to accomplish. And like it felt so bizarre, it felt so weird when those news came to me, and in my head the last impression I had of Dawn was everything I discussed in this very video. And the other thing is that when I was editing that video, there was a moment where I thought to myself, how old is Dawn's actress? And I will be honest, I didn't even know her name until now, because now it's kind of important. I didn't even know how old she was, but in my head I was thinking like, she can't be that old, because I don't know how old Dawn is in the show, but the show is like in the year 2000, and she doesn't look that old. I would have to imagine she was actually somewhat close to what the character age should be, which is like 14, 15. That's what I imagine. And that was actually true. Michelle Trachtenberg was born in 1985, so she was 15 at the time, so she was very much a character age. And in my head, when I thought about her age, I was thinking, so she can be that old? Because if I was like 4 at the time in 2000, because I was born in 96, and I'm sorry, older people to make you feel older. If she was like a decade older, then she's in her 30s. Like, that's what I was thinking. And I was like, you know, it just like weirdly dawned on me how like recent, I guess, the show kind of was, because one of the main actors of the show was in their 30s. Because in my head, Buffy is a show that has kind of been a layer removed from time, so from like an era that has passed a lot. And it's kind of true because, you know, it's been 25 years, it's been a little bit, it's been a quarter of a century. Again, sorry, older people, to make you feel older. But in my head, like, Michelle's age became this like weird thing in my head where I was like, oh, this is like someone that I feel like I probably can connect to more than anyone else, in a, not just in how the character makes me feel, but also in like, I feel like there is a connection through the age that I also can, like, I can tangibly grasp on, which is like, oh, this actress is not even that old, you know? I don't know how to explain it, but if you talk to like a 50-year-old, like, maybe you would be like, okay, very much older person. But if I talk to someone in their 30s, I feel like there's a lot more likelihood to like vibe with that person. Like, there's not that much difference in age, so it feels like much more grounded to me. So that's what I was feeling. And then I heard a couple days later what had happened, and that just made me feel so depressed. And that's the other thing, is that her death was incredibly untimely. She died at 39. She was 39 years old. That is extremely young. I can't imagine reading this news as if you're like 40 or 45, 50, and you're thinking to yourself, like, she was very young. I'm not at that age, but I do feel like that is extremely young. And right now, I will say that details of her death have not been released, and mainly it seems that, I will read here, the cause of death remained undetermined after the family objected to an autopsy on religious grounds, which, completely fine. I will not question what the family wants to do. It is the family. And I also would not want to speculate on causes. It's kind of a morbid topic that I don't think we should kind of speculate on. It's just a thing that happened, and we just feel sad about it, and we shouldn't be demanding for answers or whatever. Like, no one owes us that. Like, this is entirely the family's call. But it is just a very depressing thing, isn't it? 39 is such a young age. I will say that, reading here, following her death, numerous celebrities expressed their condolences and paid tribute to Trachtenberg, including her Buffy the Vampire Slayer co-stars and Gossip Girl co-stars. So there's a lot of love being spread around Michelle's death, that I feel like, if anything, we can just say how far her reach was as a human being. Because, like, I feel like, you know, we're all gonna die. At some point, we're all going to die. The moment you are born, you're also signing death's contract. It's gonna happen. So, like, I feel like at the very least, something you do want is to be able to have a reach. You know, something you can say that you did in life that, like, mattered. And I think we can definitely say that Michelle had that, because of just the amount of reach that she, like, again, people that they didn't even know anything about the show and didn't care. They were talking about it. So it is the situation where I feel like this is definitely a big reach. And not just that, but also she has touched many hearts. Many people are talking about her. Many people are expressing their feelings, their pain, their sorrow. So I think that Michelle mattered a lot. And at the end of the day, even if her death is incredibly untimely and extremely sad, I think that is at least something we can, you know, grasp onto as, you know, at the very least, she accomplished that. And that is way more than any of us will ever accomplish. Let's be honest with ourselves. So that is at least like a silver lining we can maybe hold on to, is the fact that we knew about her. And, you know, some of us more than others, as I've been told on Patreon, but we really enjoyed her character, which, something else I want to, you know, she's not Dawn. Michelle Trachtenberg was not Dawn. She was a real human being, while Dawn is a fictional character written by someone else, but multiple people. The point being that I cannot, you know, look at Dawn and say, like, oh no, I lost you, or something like that. That's a weird thing to say. That is just a fictional character written by a third party. However, a lot of what made that character what it was Michelle's performance, delivery, acting. Like, a lot of things about that character are just Michelle. Part of it is definitely writing, and the other part of it is definitely the portrayal. So there is still a moment of, you as someone who really enjoys this character, you have to look at Michelle and say that her portrayal is part of the reason why you love that character. And that's kind of how I feel. I do not want to, have this like weird narrative that, Michelle was Dawn or something like that, because again, one is a real person, a real human being, and the other one is a fictional character written by someone else. But part of what made Dawn who it was also Michelle. Like, that's just undeniable. And I really enjoyed Dawn. I just really like this character. I was told apparently that a lot of people maybe don't, because a lot of people have weird mixed feelings on what Dawn brings to the table. She can be maybe a little whiny, a little annoying, but it's like, she's like 14. That's exactly what she's supposed to be. But I can also imagine how this just like maybe part of the audience that is like the older sibling demographic. So maybe you're more in Buffy's shoes whenever things are happening regarding Buffy and Dawn, and you find Dawn very annoying. But some of us are on the younger sibling demographic, and we're watching this, we're thinking, yeah, I really vibe with Dawn. I don't really follow what Buffy's doing. So that's kind of where I fell. And I don't know, man, it's just going to be really sad watching future episodes of the show, because Dawn is very key, important character to this season. And moving forward into the show, it's just going to be so depressing to just see Dawn, see Michelle. Because that's also the thing, is that when you're an actor, many different jobs, but also when you're an actor, like, it's going to be weird watching a portion of time that has been, preserved forever for people to see, of someone that is no longer here. And you get that with any form of like, art that requires a human being behind it that is then preserved. But I just, even though I said earlier that Buffy feels kind of maybe old a little bit, a part of me still didn't have that feeling of like, like everything is gone here. Because it isn't. Like, a lot of these actors were very young when they were working there, so they are still realistically just around doing stuff. But now looking at Michelle, and especially because she's the youngest, like, it's just gonna feel miserable. So we're all just gonna have to like soldier on whenever we watch these episodes together. So, but again, I do want to bring this up again because I can't state it enough. We didn't know her personally. Maybe someone in the comment section has known Michelle personally, and if you did, I would love to hear that. But most of us didn't. Most of us didn't know her personally. We weren't her friends or anything. So I don't want to I don't want to be weirdly parasocial over someone who I never knew. Again, like I said earlier, I didn't even know her name a couple, days ago, because I just suck at names. I don't really follow actors' names, but that's like a me problem. Other people definitely did. But that doesn't mean I didn't care. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't make me feel like shit, because it does. It makes me very sad. We're all going to be very sad for a while. But at the same time, you don't want to make it all so much about yourself that you're kind of ignoring the pain that some of the other people that actually did know her must be going through. And at the same time, let's try to focus on the positive, which is just the fact that we even knew her to begin with. Most people don't get to that point, but Michelle did. Michelle had a reach. She had an impact. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about her. And that's honestly one of the most beautiful things that just a human being could accomplish in life. So thank you, Michelle, for being you, do what you did. Sucks that she has gone so early. That's really untimely. 39 is so untimely, but what can you do? That's just life, isn't it? But hey, silver lining. We knew her, not personally, but we knew of her, and there's a lot of love that people are spreading around her. There's a lot of, if people didn't feel that love, they wouldn't be feeling the hurt, the pain that they are feeling. So that is a good thing that people cared. That is a fantastic thing. So yeah, thank you, Michelle. I don't know how to end this segment, and I don't think it can just return back to the normal video after this. So I'm just going to say, hey, that's it for this video. Goodbye. See you in the next one. Take care.